do so. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, members, any comments or questions for David on this report? No. Happy to agree the recommendations? Yep. Okay, thank you very much. So the last one now, David, order contract.
So, thanks, Chair. Put my mic off. Yeah, this again is one of a suite of regular reports. Members will see this one comes quarterly, and what it is trying to bring in summary form the output from all the business that's going on in the name of the council on a daily basis. Our arrangements are such, and I think I did touch on this in the members' inductions, so apologies if I'm repeating things, but very quickly, the authority to sign off contracts is delegated to heads of service and or myself, provided the contract was tendered in accordance with a recognised and formal route, be that a straight tender, be that utilising an established framework, be it quick quotes if we're down at that level of spend. So whatever is the most appropriate route, as long as they've followed an approved route, if you like, then the sign off of the contract, provided the budget's in place and the process has been followed, then it sits at that officer level. But again, back to openness, accountability and transparency. This is the report that brings to the surface, if you like, those outcomes from those tenders on an ongoing basis. And I like this one because what it does at a snapshot is give anybody reading it a fair indication of the absolute range and width and depth of the services we provide from one end of the spectrum to the other across all our different services. And sitting below that is the absolute massive range of need, be that for the supplies of goods, supplies of services, or for capital works, and the variation on those themes. And as I say, it just gives us a snapshot of the width and depth of what we do on a daily basis as an organisation. In terms of specific contracts, we set them out here per service, and what's of interest is who all was allowed to bid. Or invited to bid, who all bid. Where it was financial tenders, then we actually share the various pricing, but things get more complicated now, and it's scheduler rates and different things, or it's off frameworks. So we try and set out the meaningful and relevant information so that you and members of the public at a glance can see the process we followed, who all was involved, who all bid, who all was appointed, who wasn't, and the reasons for that are all set out to a reasonable degree. So this is about giving general comfort that the business we conduct out of sight on a daily basis has been conducted in accordance with due process and all of our other statutory obligations. I won't pick any out in particular. Clearly there are many there, as I've said. If any members have any particular questions, I suppose the one I would maybe pick out is it's 243. That's a biggie. That was the retender for the waste contract. So the previous provider was Bar fell into difficulties with HMRC, and we're looking at potential tax liability of 96 million, but they appealed that first tier tax tribunal decision successfully. Only recently were they successful, and they are back in the game. But in the meantime, we had to tender again, and while Bar did bid, they weren't the successful bidder, given they'd had to rearrange their operational arrangements. We also won't be able to revert back to those old arrangements, which were about £2 million a year cheaper than the current arrangements, because the expectation is in the back of the Bar case that the Scottish Government will now, they were reviewing the regulations as a tidy up, but it's now considered that the likely approach will be a much more detailed review of the regulations, such as when they're finally finished the review, the regulations will read like and will require operators to act in a manner and conduct their operations in the manner as expected by the first tier tribunal judge. In other words, any gap in the regs will be closed and they won't be able to revert to their old business model. So unfortunately, that is reflective now of what we can expect to be paying going forward. However, that's based on using Western Road, and discussions continue and thinking is going on as to possible alternatives that would reduce that. And given we're in open session, I won't say much more than that. But that's obviously one of the big contracts. That's a massive spend, and then you've got everything else in between, right down to some of the smaller ones. I'll leave it at that, Chair, and if there are any questions, that might be a better approach to take if members want to expand on anything.
Thanks very much, David. Are there any comments or questions for David in this report? No. Okay, so I'll be happy to agree the recommendations. Yep. Okay, thanks very much. That concludes the business for today. Thank you. Thanks for your participation. Thank you.